Hey guys, Rob from the Off-Grid Tiny House. Doing a little walk and talk video for you guys because it's been a long time and I got to give you a bunch of updates on what's going on since it's been, well, you know, crazy. So, update on my dad. He's back home. If you've been following my Patreon update videos, you would know that. So we're taking care of him at home. He has a walker with wheels. We help him get up and down and in the bathroom and help shower him and stuff like that. He's really skinny now. And the puffiness on his left leg has gotten really back to normal, basically almost back to normal. They said it is the puffiness was from a blood clot, but we assumed it was from that infection that he got. But his white cell count is still high. So yeah, Tuesday, it's Wednesday today, so next week we take him down to the cancer doctors because the appointment we took him to yesterday was just the family doctor, and nothing really much came of that other than his blood pressure's still good, his oxygen's still good, and we got the update on his blood work with the high white cell count still. So, in the meantime, I have been giving my dad just about a gram a day of cannabis oil. RSO, has many different nicknames, whatever. But high THC indica strain is what I've been giving him. We've been slowly seeing improvements because he's come a long way since we started. It was pretty rough going, guys. I gotta admit that. Pretty darn rough. So, yeah. So anyways, you know, it's going to be a long haul. That's what I told everybody. And on Tuesday, they're going to kind of assess him again and see if they want to attempt chemo or not as of yet, because he hasn't received any, which is good in my books because he's pretty weak as is. Let's kind of think this over, you know. Let's build him back up first for a few months beforehand and kind of not worry about it, let the cannabis work. But our system's kind of goofy, so that's what we're dealing with. I'll be back in a bit, guys. I gotta cross this road. Alright guys, cross the road. Gonna continue on here. So you guys may have noticed lack of content online for a good majority of the time recently, and well, that's because either I've been working or taking care of my dad. So definitely apologize to my Patreon members as well, or a member I should say, Joseph. But he knows I've kind of been filling him in on Patreon with little updates and such as things progress. So we're gonna kind of try to attempt to get back into content creating mode because a lot of my fans are missing my content, especially since, you know, the mainstream content out there is pretty lackluster. So people got to turn to alternatives such as myself on here for a little bit of entertainment, of something to watch, something to look forward to. So I appreciate that for sure, guys. my good buddy Pierre also had some health issues going on. I won't get into details because that's kind of his matter and keep things kind of private, but yeah, so a lot of crazy stuff going on one way or the other. Pretty scary. So we're, you know, I'm gonna appreciate everybody's thoughts and prayers for my dad ongoing as we battle him through yet again another bout of cancer. Now, they have not told me or us the actual name of this cancer, other than they said it's aggressive, and it is a mid-range on their chart of what kind it is. So that's what we're dealing with that. Fun, fun, fun as the sun blinds my camera lens. There's some trees coming up here shortly though, so we'll be good. Yeah, so pretty crazy stuff. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I see the economy is in shambles, and inflation and the price of fuel and gas and food, pretty much everything is in shambles, and that's why you never support Democrats or liberals. Basically, over here in Canada, we have a similar setup to the United States, but they're not called Democrats over here, they're called liberals. And yeah, they're running us into the ground just as bad as the bonehead administration is over in the US. But that's that. They got to be desperate because recently they raided Mar-a-Lago, and they're just trying to find any little piddly piece of nothingness to try to stop the tsunami that's coming. But what they should really be focusing on and spending their resources on and time on concentrating on is running the country properly. Having no inflation or very low inflation. Having low gas prices, low food prices, low everything prices. But they want to push their whatever agenda. I call it the crater agenda, and they're doing a real good job at it right now, just cratering everybody. So yeah, I had to cut ties with a couple friends that were liberal, and apparently they're walking around in denial mode because they voted for the bonehead. And why would you vote for a senile person to run your country? It's like packing your entire family into a car and letting a dementia patient drive, okay? And you're gonna be driving cross country, and you're gonna see how well that's gonna go for you. And look where we are now, guys. A lot of road bumps, a lot of crashes, a lot of damage ongoing. And this is what you get for not listening. It's pretty bad. And then they'll act like it's not his fault, even though they're in power. Democrats are in power right now, full. Okay? So who's driving the show here? Who's driving? Who's at the controls? It's not the Republicans, it's the Democrats. So if this is the best that the Democrats are going to do for you and the country, this is the job performance report, guys. It is called complete and utter trash garbage, all right? This is what we're dealing with, and we got to live with it. The little guys like you and me, Joe Blow down on the bottom, have to survive and work harder and pay more money for all the damage that these liberal and Democrats are causing. It's bad, it sucks, And this is why they're going to be completely voted out. And then there's going to be some massive changes happening once that happens. The corruption's going to disappear, and these people should be going to prison. Hardcore. Okay? If we get lucky. We'll see what kind of tricks they pull going forward. We're 90 days or under now to the midterms. Or yeah, something like that. Oh man, it's gonna be wild. So they're in a mad dash to try to hold on to power. Meanwhile, they're not correcting all the mistakes they've been making to, crater the country. And a lot of people ask me, Rob, why do you talk about politics in the US all the time? Well, I'm in Canada, and we're your biggest trading partner. So we have direct ties to any goofy policies you people do. Okay? So when your economy tanks, ours does. Everything's a direct link, and that is why I'm concerned, because it directly affects me. When you guys screw up, we get shafted. It's that simple. So I pay attention to this and prepare accordingly as best as you can. But this is the crap we're dealing with, and it sucks. So Rob, what have you been doing since you've been away? Well, work, saving money. I have to also give you some updates on what else is going on. The tiny house officially has made landfall in the lady's place that bought it in the off-grid community. She is getting it all set up. She's collecting water already. She's running her solar power at the off-grid tiny house. She is absolutely still in love with it. And I just met her the other night because she came to my house and had a bunch of questions for me at the tiny house. And we talked for a good 3 hours. Also, we measured the trunk of her car because she's going to be taking 2 100-pound propane tanks out to her tiny house next coming weekend. So sometime next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, something like that, she will get she'll stop over at my place again. I'll load the 100-pound cylinders, and then she's off to the tiny house yet again. She's been staying out at the tiny house for 4 days every weekend. So apparently she doesn't work Fridays, I think, from what I understand. Or she works Friday. She doesn't work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday is more like it. That makes more sense. So that is what's going on there. So she's extremely happy with the tiny house. It survived the 8.5 hour travel and terrain. She did tell me some of the cabinets in the bedroom fell over, but because the way I thought ahead, they just fell onto the mattress and no damage, other than she had to put the doors back on, I guess. Big deal, okay? But everything else survived. She did say the fridge somehow came off of the shelf and was halfway down the trailer, which is not good because that's an expensive fridge. And boy, oh boy, that sounded rough. But she says the fridge is still working fine. She loves it. She wasn't sure about it at the beginning. She loves it. She had a few issues with learning how to capture the rainwater, what all the valves do, plumbing. I explained all that for her. She's been catching water. She's happy. She needs the propane tanks that I mentioned earlier to run her stove and hot water system. And I told her how to hook them up, how to purge out the air, yada yada yada, all that stuff. And she's luckily enough to take photos, send them to me, and then I can circle and edit the photo to show her this is where this is where that is, turn this on, turn this off, whatever. She made the mistake of leaving the inverter on overnight, so she woke up to the inverter low voltage alarm coming on. So I had to explain to her, okay, the inverter should be shut off when you go to bed, because even though you're not using any of the power, the inverter itself is going to be consuming power from your batteries, and on and on and on. But these are like basic how to use solar lessons, and she's learning. So she's happy about that. I think they got as low as 9 volts, which is very low in my opinion, but they'll survive as long as she doesn't drain them any heavier than that. And then I told her how to winterize the system, on and on and on like that. So the area she's in, she owns an acre, which is huge. She's surrounded by the woods except for where her land has been cleared out for her property, where she has the tiny house. She has full sun for the solar, and she's not going to live there full time as of yet, but that's her long-term goal, and she's loving every second of it. Now, the previous owner to the property clear cut the section of the property where she has the tiny house parked, and guess what? That means she has unlimited firewood galore there, ready for her, already seasoned. She is set. That's the other thing I did, kind of explain to her best methods of how to use the wood stove, because she's new to it. She told me she started a fire, shut the door, fire went out. Well, that happens when you don't have oxygen for the fire with the air damper. So I kind of explained everything, you know, process, how to do everything. And I told her to get the magnetic temperature gauge for her fireplace stack, which she apparently lost in transit, because it's only a magnetic thing, so probably the vibrations would have took it off somewhere. But anyway, you can buy those anywhere at the hardware store. They're just magnetic, they stick to the stack, they give you a fairly accurate temperature reading of your wood stove stack, and how to regulate. And I told her how to regulate it. Now, don't go over 400 degrees, kind of dial it in, experiment that way, so she doesn't burn the place down and doesn't kill herself, you know. So she also said she's bought furniture. She's made the place a lot more homier. She is extremely happy with the purchase still. And it's glad to hear the tiny house went to a good home, since the authorities, or aka the government around here, has given me nothing but hassle about the off-grid tiny house, because I've been moving it from location to location because, well, basically nonsense, right? Now, one thing she doesn't have to worry about is ever having to deal with that nonsense, because she at her off-grid community, which is an unorganized town or village or whatever the hell they call it. It's totally legal for her to live in that place where she's at. No issues from the government, no issues from bylaw people or anything of the sort. So she's extremely happy, extremely lucky, and grateful to me still. So all of my naysayers can eat crow as usual. They seem to do that quite often. Still living in denial land, but I'm not too worried. I just laugh at most of them because it's just hilarious. But anyways, well, mostly dumb and sad, but for them, but whatever. So that part is done. My dad's trailer, we had to move it as well, and we moved it over to my uncle's place. I am slowly taking truckloads out of it of things we want to keep. It's up for sale, and we're going to be downsizing, getting rid of it. The bad part about that is we have more stuff to put somewhere around the house. The house is already full. Can't build. We don't have room for another shed or anything like that in the backyard, so it's going to make stuff pretty difficult. So I'm slowly picking away at that. If I have a slow winter this year, I'll be spending a whole lot of time in the garage, rearranging and organizing and getting stuff ready for sale in the spring, because I don't use a lot of that stuff at all. So I have to go over it with my dad, but we'll see. Be back in a bit.